Welcome everyone to Consciousness Road Trip. My name's Sarah Watt. This is my podcast, obviously. And today I am joined by an amazing woman. She is a very, very, very dear friend of mine. She's also the worldwide coordinator for Access Consciousness. She's an Access Consciousness facilitator. Her name is Francesca Fiorintini.
Ciao Sarah, ciao everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this amazing podcast. I heard a lot of talking about that.
And I was talking to you just before because I've said this, a few times now when I introduced the podcast, that it's called Consciousness Road Trip because, we travel the world a lot, and I thought, well, I'll just take my little microphone on the road with me and I can talk to people all around the world. And I think this is number 4 or 5 and all of them have been recorded in Australia.
With people from all over the world.
Exactly. So it's just like the flip side. So we've just literally yesterday wrapped up the Australian tour here, which was 4 or 5 huge Access Consciousness classes in a row. And that's why, I'm taking full advantage of everyone being in my backyard for once. But both Francesca and I head off, leave Australia and start 2020 and Europe and all the things coming up in Access. But really this podcast we were talking about, what can we talk about and it's really like this place of it just being whatever, really. Like there's no real, and that's the thing I love about Access too, is even the podcasts I've done so far where it's kind of been about a subject or about a topic, it never really sticks to that anyway.
Yeah, it never. And I love that because like consciousness road trip, right? Mm-hmm. Like I came across the Access Consciousness tools 2011 mm-hmm. with bars, and I've been running bars for a few months before even do and the next step. I didn't really have a lot of money, and I didn't even have a credit card at the time. I'd buy things online. So I was using so much all the free stuff that Access Consciousness offer, videos, interview, blogs, everything. And using all that free downloads and using as much possible all those tools to create a different thing. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was because I was actually doing a couple of bar swap, and I don't know if you have been talking already, Sarah, in your podcast, but bars is one of the body process of Access Consciousness. It gives you such an amazing stress release and thought release and more than that. So if you're interested, just go on thebars.com in Access Consciousness. And in one of those sessions, I was actually asking inside, without saying out loud, what would it take? Because every time you have a bar session, you have sort of a release of limitation, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
And I was hearing, I actually have listening to to Dr. Dane here talking about if before any bar session, you actually ask, what would you like to change? Mm-hmm. If you could change anything.
Yep.
And it was at that time was like me asking, what would it take for me to travel the world and mm-hmm. make money with that? Mm-hmm. When that process started,
yep.
I'm like, and I never plan what
yep.
that would look like. I just ask a question to the universe, and based on that question, and of course I made a choice as well. Yep. I start seeing all these possibilities showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the amazingness, because then you see the possibility, you start receiving the contribution, and things are start actualizing without even thinking about.
Yep.
I don't know you, but now we're a little bit in a different,
groove of things. I love it.
Exactly. But how in my previous life, I had to plan almost everything.
Yeah.
And as soon as in my plan there was a stop, and I didn't even start, but there was a stop because, how will I do that? No, that's not possible. That will stop me.
Yeah.
What if, guys, you can really look at your future in so many different ways you never, ever, thought before, and without thinking that you have to figure it out everything.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. And I think like so much of what you said then reigns true for me, and obviously I call it like my previous life before Access and my now life. So many similarities with how, I didn't have much money, and I did start asking to travel more and get paid to travel because it was always my desire to see this world and be able to enjoy myself while doing it. but also talking about like how much I thought everything had to be planned out. Like to get somewhere, you had to know the steps to get there. And now how much, it's so funny how everything's almost flipped around. And we've got a saying in Access it's called the crazy phrase, because basically you say it makes no sense. And it's everything is the opposite of what it appears to be, and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And it so matches that energy right now of like everything that I used to think was what created things is nothing at all what actually is required now for me to create things. And how interesting it is as well that I always thought to get where I am now, and you know, for you it was 2011, so what's that, 8 years ago? For me, probably about the same when I started, but then really started stepping up and choosing maybe 4 years ago. And to see like the places that, and what can be achieved, I would never have dreamt in a whole lifetime, let alone in like 4 or 5 years, to be at this place where, and even though now I'm here, and again, like if I'd have reached this before, I would have been like, that's it, I'm here, I'm at my, and now it's like, no way, man. Like what the fuck is next? Like where to next? What next? How much more can I contribute? How much more can I create for myself? And there never feels like there's a cap on that anymore.
That's amazing, thank you. And also like the road trip of consciousness, there might be people that say, okay, you ladies are traveling and blah blah blah, but you don't, it's not just about traveling, it's not about that, it's just the consciousness, it's really like includes everything and judge nothing. One other thing for me that been contributing to create different than what I was creating my previous life, it's really taking off the judgment of myself first.
Or maybe even like at least 5 or 10% of that. I mean, still every day I'm like, can we just chip one more little chip?
You need to start somewhere.
You do.
Right?
Like everything, man. That is so fucking true.
You need to start somewhere. Like, I mean, Rome hasn't been built in a day, they say, right?
It's very true.
They have to put the first brick somewhere. So, and I get it, like sometimes we are really impatient and we want to have things yesterday, but it's also like, wow, what if you just start? Today I was doing another podcast about Christmas time with Simone Milasas, and it's interesting because if I look at myself in a previous life, everything was more difficult. But now, and I get it, you guys, that you are listening as well, like, well, you know, life is life, this is all philosophical.
I could just perceive everyone thinking that, because it's what I would have used to have thought as well.
But if the dreamers will not exist in this world, we will not have, like, you know, Leonardo, all the amazing, like Steve Jobs, or more Sarah Waters, Fiorintini. There always been like a sort of a dreamer inside myself. I never actually allowed to really show the dreamer of me of everyone around me, because I was actually very afraid to be judged. For example, one of the things they only judged me that everything for me was okay.
Same here.
I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, you never complain, everything is good, and that's why you judge me about it,
right?
You know, so like I needed to find something I was annoyed about it, because otherwise I would not have fit in that reality.
And it's almost like you've got nothing to talk about. Like I was driving just now somewhere to Noosa, and I saw a family crossing the road all together to go to the beach, and you know, it's not at all to judge this place with that family, but just tapping into what it was like growing up and being in that family situation where there almost had to be something wrong to talk about. And we've talked a lot about this at the moment in Access, about being entertained by this reality. And I know that's probably like, you know, we don't need to go too much into it, but if you just look at that energy for a minute and how much we go to find these things to keep ourselves entertained, and really entertained by things, because you know, you think about entertainment and you think about a great movie or music, but how often are we more entertained by the trauma and the drama in the world?
Stories of people around us. Oh my god, I spent so much time on that.
Me too.
It was an amazing, I loved being at the telephone with my friends and just talking about what happened. When you start realizing those were just like really stories, and that entertainment that you're talking about, I'm like, oh my god, that's so boring.
And I find myself still doing it now. It's like what you were saying just before about Rome wasn't built in a day, and like, what if So two things here. Like, what if everything we've talked about so far, and if you've heard things on this podcast or other places in Access Consciousness, what if you just played with some of it as well? Like, just pick one or two things, played with it for a couple of days and see what shows up. But the other thing as well with that thing of being patient and, you know, allowing things to kind of develop and show up, it's like, there's still things, like I still do that. I still entertain myself with the trauma and drama. I still find myself, like if someone says something and I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And kind of get into that gossipy thing, which is fun sometimes too. I mean, it's not like to judge it, but also I think the coolest thing about Access, or one of like the billion coolest things about Access, is once you've got the tools, they're there.
They're there, yeah.
And it's still a choice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I can still judge myself. I can still choose to be like, oh, whatever that is that comes up in my world with judgment. And I know now that I have these tools available and what judgment actually means to me and what it creates, which is nothing, that I can choose something different.
Yeah, that's amazing. And also like, because as you say, myself too sometimes goes a little bit on. I remember when I started using the Access tools and someone told me, oh well, it's your birthday, but I'm not going to tell you happy birthday because now you're in Access, you're not celebrating. I was like, what are you talking about? No, well, that's all this entertainment and stuff. No, I like my birthday.
Me too.
Like, no. So it's not that. One of the amazing things that if you find tools that make you have more freedom, most of the time we are looking to what's actually, well, you know, okay, this is freedom, but we need to follow rules, or have instilled that little judgment, or what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad.
Yeah.
What if it's just what works for you?
Yeah.
And I put in my calendar, and it was a suggestion of Dr. Dane here, this is the co-creator of Access Consciousness, to put in your calendar every day a reminder, say, do just what works for you. Yep.
I've got the same thing in my calendar.
I put it on the morning so I see it.
Yeah.
But every time and it's interesting because I have so many things in my calendar.
Yeah.
And that's the one that always pop in my, I always see on my phone. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I get at the beginning it could be quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But then you might be used to it, and it's not about being selfish, right, Sarah?
No.
It's actually being more, have more ease in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all those little things too, like when because both of us are very busy too. There's a lot of things that we contribute to and we create within Access and within our own businesses. And it's, it's so funny. In 6 minutes, Dane just popped up on my computer. In 6 minutes, Dane said, do only what works for me, exclamation. But that in the moment, like for me, I am so greatly satisfied when I do work on a project. And then if I'm sitting at my computer and my body starts to scream at me, we need to get up and move, then I know I can go and do something for 20 minutes. And then it's really this place of creating a world, a life that's not really in the linearity of what, and I mean, hey, if you're listening to this and you work 9 to 5 and you have an office job, it doesn't mean sticking your middle finger up to the boss and saying, screw you, I'm going to work out for 20 minutes because my arms are hurting from sitting at my computer. But where can you look at what else is possible in that moment to create something that's more fun for you?
Yeah, it's also might be as well, you talk about if you work in an office and you have to prepare the coffee for your colleagues every day. It doesn't work anymore for you. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
What if you choose one day and say, no, I might ask someone to do my coffee. And you could be surprised how, if you're asking for contribution and you're willing to receive it, how many people will actually show up?
Yeah.
Because that's true, might be very little things. I remember, I need to go with those friends. I need to do this. I need to. And it's been a working, in progress now too. I have to, because that's the correct things. I always was working against me instead of, and usually when you work against you, doesn't really have a great result. So,
yeah. And you see sometimes when you are choosing those things that work for everyone else, you perceive that it makes them happy, right? That's generally why I've done it in my life, because I'm well, if I do this, that person will be happy. Yeah, right. I think we all have had that that moment or those 10 million moments. But what if there's something so much greater underneath that? And what if something so much greater could be created? Like you were saying, if you were the person in the office that makes coffee every day and then one day you went, hey, actually, like, you know, and you don't have to be like coming from that place of contribution that this doesn't work for me anymore, and you looked at changing it. Like you just looked at asked a question like, what would it take to change this? Like imagine that one thing and how much it could turn into something so much greater for you, for them. And like, you know, what's the worst thing that could happen? They say, well, you're fired. Well, hey, what if that creates something way greater as well? Like, yeah.
And it's always like the fact of whatever you choose that works for you, what if you don't look at based on reacting against?
Yeah.
Because when you react, you fight, and you put so much your energy on the reaction.
Yep.
Instead of, as you say, what if you ask a question?
Yeah.
No matter what, okay, what would it take to change that? That's an amazing tool. And you don't have to wait for an answer.
Yep.
You will wait for an awareness, because it's like you put yourself on a different space where you're asking for something else to show up.
Yep.
And that's amazing. Like you could have the awareness in 3 seconds, so you could have something showing up 3 days later. But keep asking.
Yes.
As Sarah say, what the worst things could happen?
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like even looking, and I'm so grateful for this podcast just for myself, you know, like even being able to talk about this stuff really is such a contribution to me, also looking at where I can create more ease in my life too. And the thing that comes up over and over again when I talk to people on this podcast is how much a question is really the thing that will change anything. You know, like I did a podcast with Victor and we talked about that place when you start going into a funk when you're around other people. And then I did one with Sylvia and we talked about other things. And every time it's this reoccurring theme. The moment that energy comes up, or you perceive something, or you're aware of something, or whatever wording you want to use, that's that moment. Ask a question and it will change everything. Like it is truly like this place of, and you know, it's, when I first came to Access as well, I was like, well, if you're asking a question, you're looking for an answer, right? Like that's the whole point of asking a question. But really, like to ask a question and then move along, let it go, and allow the universe or whatever to contribute and show up.
That's really brilliant. That's really innovative as well.
Yeah.
I always see.
Yeah.
Because like consciousness is something that it's so atavic, it's so old. It's nothing that you can actually close in a box.
No.
And it keep growing, keep changing.
Yeah.
Because like we change. So it's like, and the question as we talk, me too at the beginning when I'm like, what is this access consciousness? And I saw the change that my friend was having. So that's what actually pinged me the most.
Yep.
I'm like, if she's changing so much, she's not complaining anymore. Her body is very healthy and she's happy. I'm like, I want to have that. What's going on? And she was trying to explain me about these questions. I'm like, well, it's fine. I was very grateful myself because I didn't want to figure out. I'm like, okay,
cool.
It's fine. You know, I will find. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
But start using them because, as you say, like you could be funky or cranky for something, or what if you really like stop and okay, what is this? You know, for amazing question like. And we are giving them so many tools.
I love it. I know.
It's like, what is this? What can I do with that? Can I change it? And you will perceive yes or no. It's more like your own way of perceiving if it's a yes or no. But then if yes, how can I change it? And if it's no, okay, fine. And then you keep asking next time, what else? But still, like, it's as well being willing to ask, what is this?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of being entertaining from this reality.
Yeah, and feeling like you need to fix things too. Like that was my other really go to and strong whatever characteristics or whatever before Access was this thing of like, well, if I perceive something's wrong, I must fix it, right? Like if I'm perceiving it's wrong, that means that I'm responsible to make it right in some way. And I think like with questions in general, and especially those four, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? And if yes, how do I change it? It's that place where I don't have to change anything. Like, and also it's this other thing as well of like, how much can you change without really putting a lot of effort in too.
Change doesn't mean fixing it.
Doesn't.
No. And I think we have a lot of things in common. It's so
apparently.
Like fixing everything, everyone needs to be happy, and it was never enough.
No.
Never. When you try to fulfill other people's needs.
You never will get there. It's like having a cup or a bucket with a hole in the bottom. And like, if I can just get the bucket or the cup full, everything will be okay. But you're madly filling, and all the while the water's coming out the bottom. There is going to be endless problems in this world to solve. If you're looking for a problem to solve, it's going to be like, you will always find a problem to solve.
And we love that. I think I remember once I did read somewhere, you're a fucking miracle solver.
Yeah.
I mean a fucking miracle solver I need to create problems to be it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And there are other philosophies, they say the same.
Yeah.
It's true. Like, you are your reality. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's your point of view that creates your reality too. So,
yeah. And it's so funny with these tools in Access, like even we've talked about, 3 or 4 tools in here in this one podcast, and they're all pretty much beginnerish tools, right? The things you learn when you first come into Access. And even now they are still developing and unfolding and showing to me truly how diverse a tool, even something simple like your point of view creates your reality, the one you just said. I was like, well, obviously, duh. But then when you really start looking at the places and exactly what our points of view are, like, because to me, I thought, a point of view is just the big things, right? Like, if I believe something really big, then that will create my reality. But it's even those really small things.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny how I've been sabotaging myself a lot. Then there was a moment when I say, look, you know what? Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's cool because all these amazing tools, I keep using them all the time.
Yeah.
We call them basic.
Yeah.
But they are the most valuable for me.
Yeah.
And it's always like one other anyway, I get it now.
No, it's fine.
It's also like being honest with myself helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Because if I'm very honest with me and looking what doesn't work for me and what does work with me.
Yeah.
Or because I can't blame anyone else around me.
Exactly.
But we in the deepest we know that we've been creating the shit around us.
Exactly.
So that has been one of the greatest gifts, looking at, being honest with me, if I'm responsible, quote unquote, for whatever is showing up in my life, means that there are no gods, there are no, stars, there are no other friends that are responsible for.
Yep.
So if I am the one, I can change everything.
Yeah.
So that has been one of the greatest gifts to look at, embrace that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not comfy, huh? To say.
Most of the time.
But it's fun.
I was driving somewhere the same trip, and the same thing was coming into my awareness as well, like just how much my whole life I've waited for other people or for something to present itself so I knew what next. Like, I will know what next because this will go this way or this will go that way. Then I can choose. And I'll know what next because this person will require something from me. I just know they will. So I'll wait for that to happen and then I can choose. Like this place where exactly what you were saying, like really where nowhere in my life up until now-ish, like with the tools of Access, and even now, it's still that thing again about taking my time and realizing that sometimes it takes longer than you want it to, but knowing that truly if you're the master of your reality, if you're conducting this whole symphony of your reality, you never wait for anyone. You never choose based on what anyone else is choosing. And if each of us started choosing from that space, I just wonder like truly what else would be possible in this world and what else could show up. And yeah.
And new things are showing up. I'm really grateful for all the dreamers and seekers. For something new. Yeah.
And just know, guys, as well, if you're listening to this, obviously you probably are one of those dreamers or seekers. And the more we're willing to show up and actually come out of our hiding and come out of the woodworks a bit, I've seen it happen. The more of us that choose it, the more of us that choose it, the more of us that choose it. And it just is like this snowball effect where it's like we're a magnet to each other. And it's such a huge contribution. So That's, I can't even believe like how fast these things go. We've been talking for 25 minutes, so it's like...
Yeah, over. 20.
I know, but some of them have been 30, 35. I'm like, let's try and keep this to 20 to 30 minutes and then, whatever, who cares?
Thank you, Sarah, for inviting me.
I'm grateful. So grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for you.
And if people want to find a bit more about you in the world,
so they can go on the Access Consciousness website. It's www.accessconsciousness/Francesca Fiorintini.
Cool.
And I'm also a Joy Business Facilitator, so www.joybusiness.com. And yeah,
cool.
All of that.
And I'll pop some. When this is released, I don't even know. It'll be in January, I think. By then, we'll be in Europe somewhere with Access classes. So yeah, I'll pop some websites in the show notes. And thank you again so much. I'm excited to see what the next week, let alone year, brings. And I'm very grateful for you, my friend.
Me too, a lot. Thank
you. Cool. Thanks everyone.